I wanted to focus at the start of the show on an absolute farce and sham in the world of horse racing. I'm not a horse racing fan. I'm no giant bettor. I'll talk about the Melbourne Cup because it's the big cultural event. But like most Australians who are not part of the betting world, don't really know about horse odds and couldn't give two stuffs about your average jockey, there is something about the horse racing industry that has always felt, frankly, a little bit dodgy. And that was confirmed again today when Damien Oliver, the bloke who never should have been riding on a horse in the Melbourne Cup, was allowed to ride a horse in the Melbourne Cup, despite the fact that he had admitted that back in 2010 he placed a $10,000 bet on another horse in the same race that he was involved in. It wasn't his horse, it was somebody else's horse, and it was $10,000. Now, he had a big teary appearance today in front of the requisite body of racing officials in Victoria. They decided not to ban him for life, not to even ban him for 12 months. They've given him a 10-month ban, but he can get back on a horse and start training in as little as 8 months. As has been pointed out by many people, what sort of a punishment is it to Damien Oliver, and what sort of a disincentive is it to other jockeys, certainly high-profile and rich jockeys like Damien Oliver, when he was able to ride in this year's Melbourne Cup and he'll be able to ride in next year's Melbourne Cup? Equally bizarre was the Jockeys Association, who was hand in hand with Damien Oliver today in Melbourne, saying that his harshest critic would be Damien Oliver. And while this is a very stern punishment, we mustn't forget the wonderful things that this man has done for the sport. What about the excuse that Damien Oliver actually offered to the officials today? The reason poor Diddums put $10,000 on another horse in the same race that he was riding in was because he was having marriage difficulties, because he was apparently drinking too much. Well, I'm sorry. In order to send a clear message that racing is not crooked, when somebody fiddles with a race to that extent, he should be banned at the very least for 12 months and, in all honesty, probably for a whole lot longer. It was a farce today. The Victorian racing officials effectively gave him a slap on the wrist. Now, I get it. He's been denied the ability to go and earn any money anywhere in the country for at least 8 months. That in and of itself is a penalty. But when you're a bloke who has got a reasonable access to some coin, it's not exactly anything more than a forced holiday. When the entire country was watching the Melbourne Cup in the past couple of weeks, horse racing has a certain importance to millions of people. And to tens of thousands of people who bet every single weekend, they need to have at least some vague belief that every single jockey is not involved in betting on the other bloke's horse. They need to make sure that the horses aren't doped up to their eyeballs. It is pretty obvious. If anyone is caught fiddling with the integrity of a sport, like match fixing in a football match, doping in cycling, or betting on the other horse in the race, that for the integrity of the system, they should be banned, and banned solidly. It was disgraceful today what happened in Victorian racing, and good on the Victorian government for saying that there will be an independent inquiry into all of this. Because if the system is going to take millions and millions and millions of dollars from the average punter, we should at least have a even money bet that the whole thing ain't crooked.